Hey guys, I would like to welcome you all to this revision marathon session for the ACCA APM. This is Lokman Rafiq here. There is an unfortunate thing that unfortunately ACCA CB practice platform is not working properly. So I had planned to conduct this session by solving questions on the ACCA CB practice platform, but unfortunately that won't be possible today. But still, I would try to make sure that I do questions and I do questions from the past papers, which I think are going to be relevant for you people for the current examination. Before I go on, let me just talk about few things with respect to APM. Number one of them is that, okay, Aisha, I'll just retry in case if it works out for me, this is going to be good enough because I had planned for the whole session on the ACCA platform actually. So let me just guide you that basically a lot of you people who are attending this session, unfortunately, it's not the first attempt for you people. Majority of you are re-attempting this APM paper. And this is unfortunately an issue with the APM because apparently, frankly speaking, if you look at the syllabus of APM, there is literally nothing. There is literally nothing. Why? Because some portion of the syllabus is made up of the SBL, some portion is made up of FM, some portion is made up of PM, some portion is made up of the AFM. So there is like a mixture. Approximately 35% is new element. The rest 65% is things that have been picked up from the other areas. Now, when as a student, you go through the APM syllabus, you are like, okay, what to read? So to me, the key to APM is that you should know how to attempt the questions. It's not about what syllabus areas you'll cover. Even if you don't cover the entire syllabus areas, but if you actually go through the questions to the maximum possible extent, you will still be able to pass the APM because for me, the APM is something that requires technique. For me, APM is something that requires you to be extraordinarily vigilant with respect to how to answer the questions, how to tackle the different scenarios. That's what APM is all about. So what we are going to do in today's session is we would try to make sure that we go through the examination questions and basically try to see that how the examiner examines different questions and what are his expectation from you as a student. So as I told you, unfortunately, again, I'll just give one more try to the CB practice platform if it works. But if it does not work, I'll go for the Word, Excel, and the PDF document. Yeah, it's trying to load, but unfortunately, it's not loading. And we just cannot conduct the session like that. So I would go about doing the questions on the using the PDF document instead of relying on this ACCA CB practice platform. That's unfortunate, but that's how we have to go about, right? Okay. Okay, guys. So the first question that I'm going to be talking about is one of the past examination question. And this is basically a question that contains the different areas of risk and uncertainty, different type of things. So I'm going to be going about that. So the name of the question is Deldorn Company. The name of the question is Deldorn Company. Okay, this question is basically from the ACCA This question is from the September-December 2019 exam sessions. It's from September-December 19 sample examination. That's what it is. Right. So Deldon company, which is question number 3. We're going to talk about it. We'll go through it and we'll see how things are. So basically, let's just try to adopt an approach for dealing any examination question. That is the first thing that you would always be doing, is that you would be going through the top paragraph of the question. Once you have gone through the top paragraph of the question, you would then go through the requirements of the question. You would then go through the requirements of the question. And once you have gone through the requirement of the question, then you'll read through the remaining part of the question so that you could have an idea that what is actually going on. So let's just start discussing about this Deldon company. What does it say? It says Deldon company is a manufacturer of heavy steel items. It is funded by a venture capital organization. So who is funding it? A venture capital organization. Just remember this thing, that a venture capital organization is funding it. Now what next is there? It says following a period of poor performance, the VC has expressed concern that Deldon's board are focusing too much on their own interests, while neglecting to adequately measure and manage company's performance in respect of other stakeholder groups. So basically, what is happening is that the board members are complaining that what the existing management is doing is that they are not taking care of the other stakeholders. So instead of just focusing on the entire stakeholders, they're just focusing on themselves. The company has experienced severe cash flows difficulties due to financial losses. So they are also having severe cash flow difficulties due to financial losses made on the sale of several new products. These difficulties have attributed to poor pricing decisions, which were the responsibility of the board and have resulted in many employees losing their jobs. Now here, what is actually happening is that basically somebody else is taking the decision and someone else is paying the price. So there is a lack of controllability, what could be evident from this whole situation. So what I could say is that there is a lack of controllability. That is something that is evident from this situation. Now, then you've been given key stakeholder groups, etc., etc., the board, the employees, government regulators, pricing decisions, so on, so on, so on. Now, what does it say? It says assess the performance measures shown in Appendix 1 in relation to the 3 key stakeholders groups as required by VC. So what do you need to do? You need to assess the performance measures shown in the Appendix 1 in relation to 3 stakeholders groups as required by VC. If I could just go about discussing this scenario further. So I would say that, look, Deldon company. Now the question is, assess the performance measures shown in Appendix number 1. So when he says assess the performance measures shown, I repeat, when he says assess the performance measures shown in relation to the 3 stakeholder group as required by the VC. So what is the examiner asking from you in the requirement? Let me just guide you. Assess. What do you need to assess? That's one word. Assess what? The performance measures. Which performance measures? The one that have been shown in Appendix number 1. The ones that have been shown in Appendix number 1, right? Okay. In relation to 3 key stakeholder groups. So now, this is something that you have to do. That means what is going to be your focus when you will be doing this question? Your focus while doing this question is going to be, you'll be focusing on what? You'll be focusing on performance measures, means the way of measuring the performance, like maybe return on investment, return on capital employed, residual income, etc., etc., etc. Whatever the performance measures are, you would be focusing on those measures and you would be actually connecting to them, that how appropriate are they for the key stakeholders. So that's what you would be doing. So what are you going to be doing? You are going to be answering these questions like this. How? That you would be assessing the performance measures shown in the Appendix number 1, right? You will be assessing the performance measures. So performance measure is your focus. Now what next is there? Let's try to understand this. It says evaluate which price the board would choose for new product based on the board's revised attitude to risk and briefly comment on the decision rule used. So here what is actually happening is that there is obviously something that is happening with respect to the part B, the second requirement, which is what? You have to evaluate the price. You have to evaluate which price the board would choose. So that means you have to help the board with the decision making. So when we talk about evaluating the price, so evaluating the price is basically you need to help the board choose the price. And then what would happen is that, and you would briefly comment on the drawbacks. So the problems with the decision rule used. Now, when I say the problem with the decision rule used, what do I actually mean by this? So your decision rules could be this maximax, maximin, minimax regrets, etc. These are actually your decision rules. Lastly, it says advise the VC which of the two new investment projects it should undertake, including an evaluation of the numerical technique used. Now, obviously, nowadays it is going to be a 20-mark question with 5-mark professional marks, so 25 marks are going to be broken up like this. Nowadays, it is probably going to be like this, right? That it is going to be a 20-mark question plus 5 marks. Now, what next is going to be there? So it's basically advise the VC which two new investment projects to use, including an evaluation of the appropriate numerical techniques to use. So that means this is one area. That means this is another area, right? So these are all requirements of the question which have nothing to do. This has nothing to do with this specific one, but rather what we would be doing is that when we would be doing the part B and part C, so we'll be going through these parts. Right now, what do we need to do? We need to actually, are the 5 professional marks now? Yes, the professional marks are 5 now. It's 20 marks plus 5 professional marks. Now, what I would want you people to do is that to read through I would want you people to actually read through this specific area and then we are going to start discussing. Take 5 minutes, kindly go through it. Okay, shall we move forward now? Now, as we go through this question, let's try to see what exactly are the things that we would have to keep in mind. It says the VC has identified 3 key stakeholder groups at Deldon. The VC is concerned that due to past losses made on several new products, the board has become too cautious in the attitude towards new potential projects, and in particular to the pricing of the new products. Given the importance of the board to the success of Deldon, VC has recently implemented a new bonus scheme. This is an attempt by the VC to revise board's appetite for risk and encourage them to take more risk. For example, in deciding on the price of new products, board members will now receive a very large annual performance-related bonus for Deldon's achievement of challenging targets set on the financial performance measures on return on capital employed, right? So what is actually going to happen is that okay. Now what next is there? So that is basically about the board. Now, what about the employees? The manufacturing process at Deldon does not require employees to have high level of skill. Okay. And so most of the manufacturing employees are low skill. They are low skilled employees, right? Other employees in other departments have roles which can require specific skills and qualifications. There's a high level of unemployment in the region where Deldon is based. So Deldon is based, right? Now, lastly, Deldon operates in a strict regulatory environment. Now, that's a problem. Deldon has a good record of compliance, but recently its own scientists have discovered high concentration of toxic pollutant, which is a waste product from its own manufacturing process in the soil near to its factory. VC has asked for your advice on whether Deldon's existing measures in the Appendix 1 adequately measure the company's performance in managing the concerns of each of the 3 key stakeholder groups. You may justify the use of alternative measures, but the VC only wants one measure for each stakeholder group and is not concerned about potential conflict between measures at this stage. As part of this work, VC expects you to briefly comment on the power and interests of the 3 stakeholder groups. That means he is in short asking you to comment on the Mendelow's stakeholder matrix. Now, before we proceed, what I did was I just copied one of the Mendelow's stakeholder matrices image so that I could discuss with you people and I could give you a bit of a guidance that what does Mendelow's stakeholder matrix does. So you could have an idea that when we talk about the Mendelow's stakeholder matrix, so there are basically, it's a matrix that classifies the stakeholder on the basis of their power and on the basis of their interest in the organization. So when I talk about the power, we talk about the interest. So you could understand that if the stakeholder has got a low level of interest and if they've got low level of power, then minimal effort is required for them. But if a stakeholder has got low level of interest but high level of power, you need to keep them satisfied, because if you don't keep them satisfied, they may actually act. Similarly, if the stakeholders have got high level of interest and low power, you need to keep them informed. You need to keep them informed because their interest is high. They may not be interested, they may not have a very high power. They may not have a high power, but they have got a high level of interest. Lastly is the key players. And when we talk about the key players, they are what? High level of interest, high level of power. Now, always remember, what do you do as an entity? You just make sure that the low level interest, the low level power is minimal effort. You don't have to actually put in an extra effort for that. Low level of interest, high power, keep satisfied, like usually governments. You just got to make sure that the government does not start taking more interest in your business. They should have low interest, because if they start taking higher interest, they would become key players. And for the key players, you have to keep them satisfied. You have to keep them, you have to do whatever that it takes to actually meet their demands, meet their needs. And then high interest but low power, just keep them informed. Now, I would want you people to actually read through this appendix number 1. The stakeholders and their matrices are given. The ROC is the matrix for board. Training costs is for employees, governments and regulators, no measures is specified. Now, I want you people to actually attempt the requirement of the question. The requirement of the question is explained here. He wants you to classify each of the stakeholder under their relevant stakeholder matrix. Plus, then you have to comment that whether the performance indicator, the performance measure that is used is measuring the performance for them. And the third thing that you have to do is that you have to actually suggest alternate measure. But if you suggest alternate measure, you got to justify it also. So over to you. I'm giving you 3-4 minutes. Try to actually categorize the board, the employees, and the governments and regulators into these categories. Okay. So let's just start discussing about it. The first thing is that it says the board, the VC is concerned that due to past losses made on several new products, the board has become too cautious in the attitude towards the potential projects, and in particular to the pricing of the new products. How do you classify the board members? What type of category are they? Yeah, how do you classify the board member? What category are they from this one? Kiera, is it okay if I share your message to all of them so that everyone actually gets to read it? Okay, thanks. You're saying board are key players because ROC is measuring the return on capital employed, but the concern is deciding on the new product and costing. Therefore, ROC is not appropriate measure. The gross profit margin would be better measure. Okay. EVA would be a better measure. Aisha, if you suggest anything, just make sure that you people, when you suggest anything, just make sure that you justify it also. Okay. So the first one of them is when we are going to be talking about the board members. So we're going to say board, the board members. The board members have high interest in the performance of Daldon company, and they have a high power also with respect to the decisions of the company. Hence, these members are the key players, and the activities that Daldon undertakes should be aligned with the desires and objectives of the board members. Now, what is the concern that the board members have shown? They've concerned members are focusing too much on their interest while neglecting to adequately measure and manage company performance. The company has experienced severe cash flows due to financial losses made on the sale of several new products. These difficulties have been attributed to poor pricing decisions, which were the responsibility of so and so, so and so. The board is concerned that due to past losses made on several new products, board has become too cautious in attitude towards new projects, in particular to the pricing of new products. Given importance of the board to the success of this, the VC has recently implemented a new bonus scheme. What have they done? They've implemented the new bonus scheme. This is an attempt by Nawaz. Okay, so now what actually happens is that this is an attempt to revise the board's appetite for risk. They are encouraging board to take more risk. In deciding on the pricing of new products, board members will now receive a very large performance-related bonus for achievement of challenging targets set on the financial performance measures of ROC. Now see, what happens is that the measurement of the performance of the board on the basis of ROC may be appropriate to the extent that the investment decisions are also made by the board, because ROC is not only impacted by the profits, but is also impacted by the ROC is not just impacted by the profits, but is also impacted by the capital that has been employed, right? Hence, the more appropriate method could be the profit-based measures, as this is what the board is likely to be interested in, considering the past performances of having loss-making projects. You get my point? In the past, the board has had loss-making projects. The board would not want to incur more losses, right? So the board would be interested in, why low power? Medellin board has a high power. The board of directors could just remove you people, could remove the entire management. Now, here I've got two suggestions. One of them was from Aisha. She's like EVA would be a better measure. Okay, venture capital is the okay. Yeah, they have power, but the board is also important, right? The board is being deployed by the venture capitalist. So what actually happens is that the EVA. Now, why would I not go for EVA? Just make sure that you perform, you give suggestions, keeping in mind what is being examined. I repeat, you give suggestions what is being examined. Now here, board was concerned about the previous losses. Now they don't want to actually have losses. The board is not interested in, I mean, you see what happens is that it's not about wealth maximization or something like that. Had it been for the VC, it would have been different. Here for the board members are more interested in profits because these board members are actually being encouraged to have more and more profit, right? They are not taking the risk because they are concerned about losses. So they should be encouraged to take more profits. That's number one. Now let's move a bit forward and let's talk about the employees. Now, since the employees are dependent upon the company for the employment, therefore their interest is high and therefore their interest is high and therefore their interest is high. However, since the employees are unskilled or less skilled, therefore their power would be lower, as even if these employees leave, they shall be easily replaceable. Considering that Deldon is operating in the highly regulated sector, considering Deldon is operating in the highly regulated sector, the employees' rights may be protected by the government regulations, and they may have some power through that. For such people, Deldon should keep them updated or informed of the actions that they are undertaking to ensure that employees do not join high power forces. Measuring employees okay, what is their training cost now? Okay. With respect to the training cost as the performance measure for the employees. With respect to the training costs as a performance measure to the employees, with respect to training costs as a performance measure for the employees, this may not be appropriate considering that high skill employees are not required for the business. Had the employee requirement be of high skill employees, then it may have been an appropriate measure. A better measure could be employee satisfaction surveys, or maybe a labor turnover rate suggesting how well employees are looked after. Do you get my point? Do you get my point? Yes. Do you get my point? Yes, Aisha, you can suggest separate recommendations for both the skilled and the unskilled employees. You can do that. Thirdly, you have got the next category, which is the government and regulators. So Deldon operates in the highly regulated sector with the government agencies not. Deldon operates in the highly regulated sector with the government agencies not much concerned about the performance or slash violations by Deldon as it has a good record. The government agencies have a high power and low interest. In case if their interest increases, they become a in case if their interest increases, they become a key player for the business. As such, no performance measure is available for the government and regulator. The regulator could take actions due to the pollution that is. The regulator could take action due to the pollution that is found in the soil. Hence, the performance measures that could be included can be the ones which focus on the level of toxic substances found in the soil, as that is the best way to ensure that government stays in the low interest side of the metrics. That's how you're going to answer the question. That's how you're going to answer the question, right? So basically, we just talked about the classification, and then we suggested that if it is a measure correct or not, or what could be an improved measure. Now let's just move forward and let's just talk about the other part of the question, which is about pricing decision. It says Deldon is about to launch a new product and needs to determine appropriate price to charge. They want to determine an appropriate price to charge. The variable cost of each product is uncertain, and hence there are three possibilities for each demand level. The total contribution of the products at three possible anticipated levels of demand are shown in appendix number 2. So there is this pricing decisions. Now let's talk about this appendix 2. There is this pricing decisions. You are being given the selling prices, you are being given the total contribution, you are being given the demands. So what is the requirement of the question? It says evaluate which price the board would choose for the new product based on the board's revised attitude to risk, and briefly comment on drawbacks of the decision rule used. Now, I would give you 4 or 5 minutes if you could try to convert this table into a matrix, so that we could apply maximax, maximin, minimax, regret to that specific matrix from that. Can you do that, please? Yeah, can you give it a try, please? Yeah, can you just give it a try? Can you create a matrix, please? Okay. So what is the decision that we have to take? We have to decide on the basis of price. We have to decide what? What do we have to decide? It's a pricing decision, right? appropriate price to charge. The variable cost of each product is uncertain, and hence there are three possibilities for each demand level. The total contribution of the products at three possible anticipated levels of demand are as follows. So for example, if you charge a selling price of 75, and if the demand is 1200 unit and if the variable cost is 37, then you get a contribution of this. If the demand is this, you get this. So that means one price is 75, one price is 95, one price is 40. There are three different prices that you would have to keep in mind. And what could actually happen is that there could be three different demand levels. There could be three different variable costs that could exist, right? I bet there could be three different variable costs that could exist. So what do we need to do? We need to see that what type of decision makers are these. So if you look at the current situation, with respect to the current situation, the board has now become what? The board has now become something of, you would rather say, that the board has become a maximax approach holder because they have now become risk seekers. They've now become risk seekers. They've now become risk seekers. Now, if you try to look at this one, just try to see what's going to happen. I am repeating again, I would have loved to do this on the CB practice platform, but this is unfortunate. It's not working right now properly. So what happens is that considering the revised risk appetite of the board, considering the revised risk appetite of the board is more focused on generating profits and would love to maximize the profits. Hence, the decision rule that board would like to opt for is the maximax rule. The maximax rule is where we opt for the option which maximizes the maximum profit. So if I try to look at this one, at a price of 75, maximum profit is this. At a price of 95, maximum profit is 5,500. At a price of 140, maximum profit is 51,500. So the price and the profit. 75 or you could say maximum contribution. You could say maximum contribution. Then you have got 95, 55, 100. And then you have got the third one, which is 140. And this is actually going to be 51,500, right? Okay. So what's actually going to happen? Try to understand this. Basically, what's going to happen is that now you would say the maximum contribution is maximized at a price of 95. Maximum contribution is maximized at a price of 95. Right? Okay. Let's move a bit forward. What else is the requirement? And it says, briefly comment on the drawbacks of the decision rule used. The problems with Maximax rule. Yeah, what's the problem with Maximax rule? Yeah, hello, your inputs, please. What is the problem with Maximax rule? Ignores probably overly optimistic. Yes. Problem with the Maximax rule is that this is excessively or overly optimistic approach and may not always materialize. This rule, the adoption of this approach may lead to significant losses also. So that's what could actually happen with respect to it. Now, let's move a bit forward and let's talk a bit further about the next requirement, which is C. Now, if I talk about C, what's going to happen? It says advise the VC which of the two new investment projects it should undertake, including an evaluation of the appropriateness of the numerical technique used. Now, what does it say? The two new mutually exclusive manufacturing projects, which are totally unconnected to Deldon, have become available for the VC to invest in. The VC has undertaken many similar investments before and it is entirely risk neutral investor. They are risk neutral investor. So when you are a risk neutral investor, ideally you would go for expected value. Now, two important external variables offering the NPV of the new projects A and B are the worldwide demand for steel products and the level of tariffs applied to import of key raw material. Probabilities of these two variables are independent. Okay. The VC has estimated probabilities of there being low, medium, or high levels of these two variables in Appendix C. Together with an estimate of the expected NPV for the project A for each level of demand and tariff, an analyst has already calculated overall expected value of project B as 1347. Now, so if you go into the project Appendix 3, what is actually going on? Project A, the expected NPV for each possible demand level and tariff level combination. Demand level low, tariff high. So this is what the NPV will be. Low, medium, this. Low, medium, low and low, this. Project A, there is a joint possibilities for each possible demand level and tariff combination. Means there's a 20%. See, this 0.04 is being calculated like this. Is 0.2 into 0.2. This 0.25 is calculated like this, 0.5 into 0.5. This 0.06 is calculated like this, 0.2 into 0.3. So now what is actually going to happen is that you would have to calculate the expected values. The expected value of B was calculated as what? 1347. The expected value of A has to be calculated. How would the expected value of A be calculated? So it is going to be simple. Like, for example, if you sum up all of them, if you sum up all of them, you'd probably get 1. Can you just can you just give it a try? Right? This is all going to be 1, right? This is all 100%. So what are you simply gonna do? You're gonna say this multiplied by this plus this multiplied by this plus this multiplied by this plus this multiplied by this, and so on and so forth. So can you just give it a try, please? Yeah, can you just give it a try, please? Can you just calculate the NPV, expected NPV, please? Okay. So if you try to do the calculation, okay, from the examination perspective, he would probably give you this specific thing in the spreadsheet, so that you could just copy the values and you could just put them there. Obviously, the formula would have to be applied. Now, what are we going to do? We're going to say the profit is going to be, or let's say the expected NPV for this is going to be like this. Expected NPV is going to be like this. 1200 into this. This is going to be the sum 1347, right? This is going to be the sum. So this is all the question area. And this is all the area which is about the answer. Right? This is all about the answer. So this is how it is actually going to be. So now what has happened is that you would say that as per appendix 1, the expected NPV of the project A is 1347. Is 1347, which is similar to the NPV of project B. On the basis of expected NPV, the VC is indifferent about the project that it should undertake. However, the other techniques need to be used. Considering that VC is risk neutral, a standard deviation of 103 for project A as compared to 106 for the project B suggest that project B is riskier than project A, and considering the risk appetite of the VC, they shall opt for the project A instead of project B. The technique of using the expected NPV is appropriate in this sense that it takes into account all the possible outcomes that may arise and all the possible outcomes that may arise, right? It takes into account all the possible outcomes that may arise. And the use of standard deviation considers the effect of risk in the fluctuations of the cash flows, which has been a concern for the business in the past. Do you get it? So what have we done? We have now been able to get through this question of this Deldon company. And through this question, we have actually seen the application of the stakeholder matrix. We have actually seen the application of the risk and uncertainty approach. And we have also seen the application of the expected NPV and the joint probabilities. So that is what we have actually seen. Now, in case if any one of you has got any questions related to this, let me know, or else I'm going to move on to the next question. Let me know. Yeah, anyone, any question, please, on this one? Okay, so we have been able to conclude this question, which had these multiple areas, and you people would have an idea. I am again insisting on this thing. I would have loved to do this on the CB platform, but it's unfortunate. But it's still anything is still better than having nothing, right? So we are done with this, and yeah, please, any questions do ask, or else I'll move forward. Please do ask any questions if there is any question. Difficult question, Kiara. Very difficult question, especially since the ACCA has actually stopped uploading the actual past papers. So this has become a very, very difficult approach. Okay, guys, so let's just move a bit forward. I'm going to move on to the sample examination for December 2021. That was available on the ACCA website earlier. It's not available anymore now. So let me just take you people through. I will go for the question number 2. I'll go for question number 2. In fact, not 2, question number 3. That's what I have to do today with you people. Now, question number 3. This is an extract from the ACCA CB practice platform. And the name of the question is Patek company. The name of the question is Patek company. What is it? It's Patek company. Now, it says the following exhibits available on the left-hand side of the screen provide information relevant to the question. The company information, the current delivery process, BPR proposal, Appendix 1, so on and so forth. There are requirements that are given. There's a word processor, documents, so and so, so and so. Now, what next is there? Try to understand this. So it gives us this information, which is the company information is the background, the overall aim and structure of the company, current delivery process, information related to how Patek currently manages its delivery service. BPR proposal, BPR, which is the business process reengineering proposal. and new bonus scheme for delivery drivers put forward by management consultant. Appendix 1, which is flowcharts of both current and proposed processes. Information should be used to answer the question requirement. Now, what's actually happening? The requirements are evaluate how the BPR proposal could improve Patek's performance in relation to its overall aim. I don't know if the question has got other explanations or not, but it says how the BPR proposal could improve Patek's performance in relation to its overall aim. Second is evaluate the bonus scheme for delivery drivers identified by management consultant. These are the two things that you have to do. You have to evaluate how the BPR proposal could improve the performance. And the second thing that you have to do is that you have to evaluate the bonus scheme for delivery drivers identified by management consultant. Now, what else is there? There's this one appendix, which is about company information. There's this another appendix, which is about current delivery process. There's a third appendix, which is about the BPR proposal. Then there's this fourth appendix, which compares the existing process with the re-engineered process. That's what we have, right? Now, let's try to discuss this. Let's try to go through this company information paragraph so that we could just move forward then. Okay, so what does it say? It says Patek company is a company in Geeland which specializes in the delivery of parcels. So what is your main business? Delivery business. Patek collects parcels from online retailers. Okay, so that's a step number one, collecting from online retailers, and then delivers them to the end user. So pick and drop. Patek's overall aim, now this is where the mission is to maximize shareholder value through a strategic focus on cost, being the best delivery company in Geeland, by being innovative in our approach, and by having an engaged and committed workforce. Now, when you are going to be answering the question like this, there are things that you got to keep in mind. So if I talk about this question, the Patek company, When you talk about this question, which is Patek company, what are you gonna do? I just want to pick up the key things from the question, which is number one of them is its mission. It says to maximize shareholder value. The mission is what? To maximize shareholder value. That's one thing. A strategic focus on cost. Want to be the best delivery company in Geeland. They want to be innovative in approach, and they want to have engaged and committed workforce. Engaged and committed workforce. Right? Now, all of these aspects are actually covered up in the, all of these aspects are covered up in their, in the mission statement. Right? Now, let's try to understand this. It says, despite enjoying several years of growth, Patek's performance has suffered recently as there have been new entrants into the marketplace. So what is recently happening? What is happening is that recently increased competition. Recently, there has been increased competition. Patek's current functions are run along the departmental lines. So it's a department-wise structure. Collections. The collection delivers drivers who collect the parcel from retailers. So I've got one action which is to collect the parcel from retailers. Okay. Internal operations, the computer operators who enters the order. So somebody collects, somebody punches the order. Delivery administration, administrators who schedule the delivery, and deliveries, the delivery drivers who deliver the parcels to the end user. So you've got four departments: collection, internal operation, delivery administration, deliveries. These are the four type of items. Now what next is there? I know one thing, that the first requirement is that evaluate how BPR proposal could improve the performance in relation to its overall aim. So what was there in the aim we have read through, but still let's just go through this current delivery process, then we're going to move forward. Okay, so basically it says currently Patek company collects parcels from the retailer and brings those parcels back to its premises. So see the process. There is clearly an issue with the process. You're picking up the parcel from the retailer, then bring those parcels back to its premises. Collection drivers are employed for this purpose. So there is a collection driver. What he does is that he picks up the parcel from the retailer and he brings it back to his own premises. Now, when on Patek's premises, the parcels are then logged on to the computer system. So that means there should actually be some automated system through which the moment he collects the parcel, that parcel should be uploaded into the system, but it's done manually. All details of the delivery are recorded at this time. So basically what happens is you collect the parcel, you bring to our premises, then we're going to mark it, we're going to record it in the system, then we'll go forward. These details are name of the retailer, the name of the end user to whom parcel has to be delivered, and the expected delivery date and time. On-time delivery is the key matrix in the parcel delivery industry. Yes, you would always see, the large courier companies like FedEx, DHL, RMX. These companies, what they do is that they've got the benchmark, which is on-time deliveries. Because the courier industry and the airline industry, the major aspects, the major KPIs for them is on-time deliveries. Patek's delivery drivers' delivery schedules are prepared for them by delivery administration after the computer operators have entered the order details. These schedules are presented to driver in the paper form, and the schedules are organized based on the time each order is due to be delivered. Okay. The drivers return their completed delivery schedules after the day's deliveries. Computer operators should record the date and time of the actual delivery at this point. However, the operators are often too busy logging the delivery details for the ongoing parcel for the next day to undertake this task. And additionally, delivery drivers do not always record the actual time when delivery was made. So your industry has got a KPI, which is that there has to be on-time delivery. And unfortunately, you don't have systems in place to know when the delivery is taking place. The drivers are at times noting it down, at times they're not noting it down. So there is technically no system in place. A lack of accuracy of recorded delivery data has been the cause of complaints from the retailers, Patek drivers far. Like you would always enter into an argument with the customer, where the customer would say, no, my parcel was delivered at 9 p.m. You would say, no, our record says it was delivered at 7 p.m. You need to get rid of this record. Basically, if you would see, I would always say that whenever we are evaluating the performance of any organization or whenever we are evaluating any system, just make sure that you look at the mission statement. And if you would go into the mission statement of this organization mission statement was there was a strategic focus on cost. You want to maximize the shareholder wealth, and there is a strategic focus on cost. Always remember, in the short run, the automation has a cost, but in the long run, automation enhances efficiency. The more manually your systems are operating, the more manually your processes are functioning, the more cost incurring and time consuming the activity is going to be. And as a business, you cannot just scale up. If you want to scale up as a business, if you want to grow as a business, the best thing to do is that what you should try to do is that you should try to automate the processes. You should try to automate the process. You should try to review the processes to make sure that the inefficiencies or the unnecessary steps or the unnecessary aspects should actually be removed, right? Now, it says the manager of the deliveries department does not have a vehicle tracking system. So where is your delivery vehicle going ahead? You don't know, and assumes that the delivery drivers are following the schedule they've been given in the morning. So you have got no track record of what is going on. Where is the driver going? Is he on time? Is he following the schedule? You don't have any record. Now, let's talk about the BPR proposal. Can you just quickly go through the BPR proposal in 2 minutes? Okay, so let's just start off. Now, it says the chief executive recently met with a management consultant who advised him that the entire current operation can be re-engineered. So when we talk about the BPR processes, the business processes re-engineering, what do we mean by this? It's basically you question the existing system, you scrap the existing system and you talk about a new system from the scratch. The management consultant suggested that Patek invest in barcoding system which would electronically barcode all parcels with all details of the delivery. This coding could be undertaken by the retailers, which could ensure that data was entered as soon as the order is allocated to Patek. This data would be electronically communicated to Patek, enabling deliveries to end users to be arranged at this time. Drivers collecting parcel from the retailers would be the same drivers who delivers the parcels to the end users. These drivers would know the delivery schedule in advance of collecting the parcels. End user receipt would be acknowledged by issuing each driver with a digital handheld device, which would require a signature from the end user, which would also automatically note the delivery time when the parcel was signed for. Additionally, each vehicle would be fitted with a vehicle tracking device, which would ensure its existing location can be checked. Appendix 1 provides a flow chart of the old process and the re-engineered process. Management consultant also suggested that Patek's bonus system should relate to new process and indicated that default drivers should be awarded a bonus when overall retailer satisfaction exceeded 85%. Okay. So this is the existing process where collects the parcel, brings to Patek's premises, delivery details to the end user recorded, delivery routes planned, delivery made to end user, date and time of end user, so and so. Retailer barcodes, parcels and delivery schedules. Patek collects parcels from retailers, deliveries made to end users by the same driver. End user signs on handheld device for the goods received and so on and so forth. Now, what next is there? Let's just try to see this. The requirement of the question was that evaluate how the BPR could improve Patek's performance in relation to its overall aim. So questions requirement A, it says evaluate how the business process reengineering proposal could improve the Patek's performance in relation to its overall aim. ये थोड़ी देर खुला रख देना ताकि वो स्मेल निकल जाए. सही. Now see what is actually gonna happen. Try to see. भले दोनों खुले रख दो. See what is actually gonna happen. You would answer the question like this. First of all, I'm just creating a outline for you. You talk about the BPR. You would explain the BPR. You would talk about the existing process and its alignment with the mission. New process and its alignment with the mission. New process and its alignment with the mission. So that is what you will actually be talking about now. So with respect to BPR, I'm just identifying the major points. So with respect to BPR, what is the BPR? BPR is basically fundamental rethinking, radical redesigning of the existing processes / functions to bring about a large change. The BPR proposal, then you would say BPR proposal at now, if you talk about the existing process, shareholder, wealth, strategic focus on cost, best delivery company. So you would talk about it. Major driving factors would be to earn profits. The major driving factor would be to earn profits. The second thing is that profits would lead to shareholder wealth maximization. The profits would lead to shareholder wealth maximization. The wealth of reduction of cost will have a contribution. I'm just writing down pointers so that you could just elaborate it and write them down into full sentences. Reduction of the cost will have a contribution towards the profit enhancement and hence improvement of the profits. And hence improvement of the profits. Smell के लिए खोला था.
किसी को बोलेगा वो शॉर्ट बोल देगा अभी नहीं कर रहा तभी करवा लेना अभी खाली लगा दो ताकि वो बंद कर.
Right. Okay. Now, so then you would relate it to the existing processes flaws, which is driver picks and brings to premises, operator enters details into the system, then the driver takes the delivery schedule and delivers accordingly. Driver comes back to premises to deliver the daily papers containing schedules, etc., etc. So that is all what the drivers have to actually bear, right? These are all the costs that are to be incurred. So what is it that you have to do? Just try to understand this. I mean, what is it that you would have to do? You need to understand this concept that you need to understand this concept that these are all cost incurring processes, excessive staff, excessive fuel consumptions, and what happens is that the vehicles are not even utilized in the optimal manner. Right? This is what it is going to be. I bet this is what it is actually going to be. Now, the introduction of the new process would be aligned to mission as cost would be reduced, the fuel slash staff slash operations, customer satisfaction will be enhanced. This will lead to long run profitability. This will lead to long run profitability. This will lead to long run profitability, right? So this is all something that's going to happen, right? So hence, overall, the employees would also feel lesser workload as system would be automating many tasks. So that is how you're actually going to answer this question. Second, it says evaluate the bonus scheme for delivery drivers identified by management consult. Evaluate the bonus scheme for delivery drivers identified by the management consultant. How exactly are you going to do it? Just try to understand this. Now, the first thing that I want you people to understand is that when it says evaluate the bonus scheme for the delivery drivers identified by the management consultant, what will you do? So if I actually go back to the question and if I try to see that what has been the suggestion. The suggestion has been that the bonus system should relate to new process and indicate that he felt the driver should be awarded a bonus when overall retailer satisfaction exceeds 85%. Now see, when the examiner says evaluate the bonus scheme, so you got to communicate, you got to actually list down that what is going to happen. Now see, always whenever you have got any bonus schemes, any reward scheme, because bonus is it's actually a reward. So whenever you've got any reward scheme, just keep in mind the reward block of the building block model. Just remember the block model, this reward block of the building block model. Now, what exactly is gonna be the reward block of the building block model? Yes, Kiara, I am gonna come back to that. Now, when we talk about the reward block focuses on the reward to be clearly defined, motivating, and controllable. Now, it says reward block of the building block model. The reward should be clearly defined. They have to be motivating and they have to be controllable. Now, let's just try to understand it. Basically, you would say that with respect to the bonus scheme, amongst the many features, the scheme should have the features that could lead to the rewards being clearly defined, motivating, and based upon the controllable factors. Now, here what is actually happening is that the driver's bonus is now linked to the driver's bonus is now linked to the retailer satisfaction. The satisfaction of the retailers is to be 85%. The retailer's satisfaction is dependent on multiple factors, which could include the retailer's expectations, retailer's way of evaluating the situations, evaluating the service, the system, how well the system is implemented within the organization, how well the system is implemented within the organization. Then it is going to be dependent on, how well the multiple departments have adapted the system. So solely linking the rewards of the drivers with the with the retailer satisfaction could be unjust as that is beyond the control of the drivers. It could be considered as an aspect, but should not be the only aspect of judging the performance. So that is something that you would have to do. I mean, that is something that you would have to do, and that is you would have to keep in mind. So basically, this is how you're gonna answer the question of Patek company. In case if any one of you would like to add up to anything to this, you're most welcome to ask. Most welcome to go ahead, please. Okay, the first thing is that I'm just gonna come to you. I'll just answer every single person's questions, so don't worry about this now. Okay, so is it good enough for you people? I mean, like, do you get an idea as to how to answer the question? Does it help? Okay, lovely. Okay, I would like to have one-on-one conversations with each one of you, and I'll be happy to answer the questions that you people may have, so that basically we could actually have a detailed discussion on the problems that you are facing, and I could actually answer them. So I'll start off. Is there a step summary 3-step way for evaluation question? Okay, Aisha, I'll just come back to you. Don't worry about it. Okay, now I would even allow you people to unmute, and I'll be more than happy to answer the question. Just give me a minute. Okay. So I will actually want to go about with one by one. I've got IGRIM, Zihan Kul. I'm sorry, my friend. I at times, I mean, I do pronounce your name incorrectly. I'm really sorry about it. You can unmute if you would like to, and you could just go on asking any questions that you have. I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Actually, I don't have any questions, but I wasn't able to go through all the questions that are posted in the platform. So yeah, the weekends I will go through. And I'm sending the questions that you have asked to provide answers only now. I didn't have time yesterday. I'm sorry.
That's okay. You can send them. I'll review them and I'll give you feedback. So not an issue. Inshallah, I'll take out time specifically because all the answers that I've received by yesterday. So I have a plan to submit the responses probably by tomorrow evening or Monday afternoon. That's what my plan is.
Possible to add questions on risk and uncertainty in the platform as well. Like I've done most of what you have added, but no questions on risk and uncertainty.
Okay, I'll add
just
one.
to practice more on minimax and max.
I'll add one more question. Don't worry about it. So basically, you need the risk and uncertainty, right? Uncertainty question. I'll just add up or I'll just share one of the questions that is already available. So you can just review it, right? Don't worry. I've just written it down. I'll just do it for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Next we have is Aisha Marikar. Aisha, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, you are asking that is there a summary to 3-step way for evaluation question? That's what you're asking?
Yes, because when I was going through the examiner's report, there was some sort of advice she was like writing for like certain questions. I think one was this bar that we did some time ago. And then she mentioned that, okay, you can use this 3-step method, but this was for advice and for disadvantages. So for example, for advice, she said like one step would be identify, then explain to the scenario, and then evaluate. So if it comes to a question like evaluate, is there any step that you would recommend?
Okay, now let me just give you a general guidance with respect to this evaluation scenarios, because when it comes to this APM questions pertaining to the evaluation. So I think I have had an earlier discussion also, where basically what happens is that the type of questions that you get.
Yeah.
I repeat, the type of questions that you get is that one of them is it says evaluate the performance. Then it says evaluate the performance measures. Then it says evaluate the performance measurement report. Then it says evaluate the performance management system. Right?
This I have an overview. I think you did mention this quite a number of times.
Right? Okay. Now let's talk about what will you do with respect to evaluating the performance. First of all, you would calculate the performance. And then you will comment on the performance. That's it. For the evaluation of the performance. Right? Now, when you have an evaluation of the performance measure, so that 3-step approach can be adopted over here, which is like you identify the performance measure. You connect it to the mission of the organization and comment if it is aligned with the mission. And then lastly, suggest an alternative and ideally give justification for it. You get my point on this one?
Yes.
Okay, lovely. Then it says evaluate the performance measurement report. Again, what happens is that I've discussed that you could follow this PALE framework. But again, even with the PALE framework, what are you going to do for each and every aspect is that you would probably be identifying the aspect of the report and you'd be connecting it to mission and suggesting if it is correct or any improvements needed. So when you talk about the 3-step approach, this is what you're going to do. I mean, this is generally what we do with respect to every evaluation question. But only for the case of evaluating the performance, it's a bit different. But generally, this is what we do. You get my point?
Yes.
Lovely. Okay. Do you have any other question, Aisha?
Yes, I do. Actually, if we want to cross-check the answers on the CVE platform,
Mhm.
I can't seem to find where are the answers available because they have all the questions, but the answers are not being shown.
Okay. So ACCA, what they have done is that they have removed all the answers. I've got all the what do you say? What do you say? Just a moment, please. Okay, I've got all the answers. There is a Dropbox link that I have. I will make sure that I give it to you so you can actually go about it.
Okay.
Yeah, Shane, I'll just share the word. Right? Okay. Do we have okay, I've got Aisha, do you have any other queries? Apparently no. Okay. Thanks. Okay, Benti Million. Benti, how are you doing? If you, I mean, if somebody of you does not want to unmute, that is also okay for me. Yeah, Benti Million, do you have any questions? Okay, lovely. So how is your preparation? Okay, lovely. This is really good to hear. Thank you very much for this. So we've got Christopher. Christopher, how are you doing? Christopher, how are you doing? Yeah, Christopher, do you have anything to ask? Do you have anything to say, Christopher? Thank you, Benti. Thank you. You're most welcome. Okay, yes, I'm just gonna come on to you, Shane. Don't worry about it. Kiara sends, can I actually have a discussion with you if you would like to say anything?
Hello. Yes. I actually have a couple of questions if that's all right.
Yeah, please go
my
ahead. That's what the session is for.
Thank you. My first one is that I'm kind of concerned at how many professional marks are now available. Obviously, question 1 is 10 professional marks and section B is 5. So
Mhm,
considering there are 20 marks,
mhm.
I was just wondering, is there any sort of layout, I suppose, that we should be following, that, for example, if they ask us to use professional skepticism, that there's maybe like key phrases that we should be including to ensure that we do maximize those marks?
Okay, and what else?
My other concern would just be because this is a repeat for me. I received 43% in the last time I sat this exam. So my concern was probably more just at this stage, what would be best to focus on with just the last few days? Would it be better just to solely look at examiner answers or attempt them and cross-reference and try and mark my own exams? Yeah, just what would be the best use of my time at this stage.
Okay, now see, let me just answer your questions. The number one of them is, when it comes to the professional marks, there are majorly 4 areas with respect to which you get the professional marks. There are no specific jargons, or there are no specific things that you can do to get those professional marks. I mean, like, there are no specific items. Now, let me just guide you something. When we talk about the professional skepticism, let's say, what is the professional skepticism going to be when it comes to performance management? Think about it. When we talk about the performance management, the concept of performance management is going to be like this. You would say that, let's say, if there is a way of measuring the performance of the sales team, and the company is suggesting that the sales team's performance should be measured using the profitability. Now, when you are measuring the sales team performance using the profitability, so you know it for sure that this is non-controllable. You know it for sure this is non-controllable. Now, when you know it for sure that this is non-controllable, so if you identify this issue that sales has nothing to do with the profit of the organization, sales department, sales team can control the sales only. They just cannot focus on profit because costs are outside their control. Now, let me just confirm to you. So when you identify this thing, that means you have a skeptical attitude. You're not just accepting anything that the examiner suggests, right? You are arguing, you are questioning the validity of a matter. So this is a reflection of your skepticism. Number 2, you are being told that the company is risk neutral. And when the company is risk neutral, so you're being told that, just like we did in one of the questions, that the company was risk neutral and you had the same expected NPV and you had the standard deviation. Or let's say, even if you have got one of the cash, let's say if there would have been a project in which initial period more cash flows are there, later period less cash flows are there, and second project where the cash flows are constant. Now, you as a business need more cash immediately because you are struggling with your other projects. So your commercial acumen, your commercial sense would say what? I would go for a project where I can get more cash immediately, right? So ultimately what happens is that when we talk about this whole thing, so what is actually going to happen? You don't actually need to have some unique approach. It's just a general sense of actually tackling the situation that would lead you to the professional marks, except for the communication marks, which obviously you get the marks for the format, you get the marks for the language, you get the marks for the presentation. That presentation and communication, yes, it could be learned, but the other aspects, they are all connected to the technical.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for that.
Right? Do you have anything else?
No, I think just as well, just what would be the best use of the time up until when the exam is sat on Wednesday, what to sort of focus on at this stage.
Okay. Now, what I believe is that if you think that you have revised the whole syllabus, then what you should try to do is that you should try to actually, you should try to make sure that you revise the areas where you're weak. Plus, what you should try to do is that try to practice on the CV platform 2-3 questions. And in addition to this, what you could do is that some of the past paper question, you could just read through the scenario, just even write down the planner. I mean, plan out the answer, like try to do 6-7 questions in total. Just plan out the answers and just compare if the way you are planning and what he is answering, is this more or less similar or not? What is the area that you're missing? That's what you should do. So again, I list down the areas where you are struggling with, just revise them, number 1. Number 2, do 2-3 questions on CV platform so that you get more practice. Thirdly, take out 5-6 questions, and then with those 5-6 questions, just try to make sure that you list down the planner for them. That's what I would suggest.
Great, thank you so much. I think that's all from me, and thank you very much for all your help.
You're most welcome, Sarah. You're most welcome. Kiara, sorry.
It's no problem.
Okay, Emmanuel, how are you doing? Emmanuel, do you have any question?
Thank you very much. I'm doing fine, and thank you for your time that you've given into this. Hopefully this will really help us to clear this paper. It's quite stubborn. One of my weakest point, I think, is time management. I think in most cases I've failed to finish this paper, especially the last part. I think I spend most of my time, I think, on the first question. So the last part, the last 2, in most cases, I don't finish them. So mainly the other challenge that I have is on the issue of Rosse and Eva. Is it that Rosse does not measure the shareholders' wealth?
Okay, now,
or if
okay, I'll just explain to you. See, what happens is that when you calculate the profit of the organization, so what happens is, with respect to profit, the profit actually has got a lot of items which are unrealistic, like the depreciation, the impairment, the amortization, etc., etc. That's all something which is unrealistic, right? Number 1.
Yeah.
Number 2 point is that, so what happens is that the ROS actually uses the profit. And when it comes to economic value added, what we do is that we use the NOPAT, which is adjusted profit, which has got many things adjusted. Like there is an adjustment for the depreciation, adjustment for amortization, adjustment for non-cash items, etc. And generally, you see, when we do the calculation of the investment appraisal, we say NPV is a better measure.
Yes.
Now, why is NPV a better measure? Try to understand this thing. When we talk about NPV to be a better measure, why is NPV a better measure? Try to understand this. And NPV is a better measure because, I repeat, NPV is a better measure because it is based on cash flows. It includes the concept of discounted cash flows. So when we talk about EVA, the EVA actually has got cash flows. It's mainly focusing on cash flows, right? Number 1.
Yes.
You get my point, right? Now,
Yes.
Number 3. Now, what actually happens is that, just a minute. So what actually happens is that I've explained to you what is the difference between EVA and what is the difference between ROC. One is profit. Second is use of rate. The capital employed. The capital employed under the ROS is what? The capital employed is unadjusted. The capital employed is unadjusted. But in the EVA, the capital employed is also adjusted for a lot of things, also adjusted for a lot of non-cash items. So when we are talking about the EVA has a refined version. It's eliminating all those accounting related effects, accounting related unreasonable effects. And the ROC is not removing them. That's why EVA is a better measure as compared to ROC. Hope that clarifies.
Thank you so much.
Okay, you have any other question, please?
No. Thank you so much.
Lovely. Okay, I've got Eunice Benda. Eunice, how are you doing? You have any questions, any queries? Okay, so Eunice, how is your overall experience? Are you getting to understand things?
Hi, I think I can say that I am 70% confident, not very confident, I must say, for a first attempt. But yeah, this session has been very helpful. Thank you so much.
I'm glad to hear this. In order to enhance your confidence, I would suggest you to do one thing, which is basically take out time, dedicated time, and pick up one of the past paper questions on the CB platform and just try to do it even if it takes you 6 hours. Take whole past paper, 3 questions, question 1, 2, 3. Do the whole question, whole paper, even if it takes you 6 hours. Now, the approach that you should adopt is that once you do question number 1, just pause a bit. Go through the answer of question that the examiner has written. And basically compare your answer and the examiner answer. Try to identify the differences that your answer and the examiner's answers has, right? So basically what would happen is that once you try to compare the differences that your answer and the examiner's answers has, so you would get more confidence, because you see how it happens. Even at times, I mean, it used to happen with me also. At times happens with me for some cases also, that when I try to do something for the very first time, my heartbeat goes up.
Yes. Exactly.
Right? And when I start doing something, my heartbeat starts coming to the normal level, right? So when your heartbeat goes up, there is an adrenaline that's released into the blood, and because of the adrenaline, you are probably unable to think well, you are unable to take the decisions well. So the ideal thing is that this adrenaline is more of a fear factor. So in order to overcome this fear factor, you got to train yourself into doing this, right? And to be able to train yourself, you need more practice. So best is do practice, pick up random questions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, try to do them. No matter your heart rate shoots up, this is good, because let it shoot now instead of it being shooting in the examination, right?
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, lovely. So I have got next, which is Fatumata Sanyam. how are you doing? Do you want to unmute?
Yes, I'm muted. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. You're from Somalia or where?
I'm from Gambia.
You're from Gambia. How are
Yes.
conditions in Gambia?
Alhamdulillah. I've not been following too long. I just joined the revision.
Mhm.
I'm not very confident, but at least your sessions helped me to. So I'll do a revision now against Tuesday and see.
Mhm.
So thank you for the support.
No, you're welcome. So is there anything that I can help you with? Do you need any guidance? Do you need any specific thing, or you have had have you picked up the things which you should be doing?
Maybe on the number one question, sometimes it will say performance reporting. Sometimes it will say review the performance system, management system. So sometimes I get confused.
Okay, I just explained this same thing here in a while back. I don't know if you were following or not. I just explained this. Can you just see this? These are the different 4 types of questions that the examiner usually asks, and this is how you would answer them. Now, I did not answer on this performance management system. So with respect to this, it is going to be what? It is going to be like this, right? Wait a bit. It is going to be like this. The existing system is what? The existing set of measures that are in place. Existing set of measures that are in place. Right? So you compare that with system suggested. You compare that with the system that is suggested. You compare that with the system that is suggested. So what you do is that existing set of measures that are in place, you compare that with the system suggested. And then what you do is that you say, what are the similarities? What are the missing elements? What are the missing elements? And what measures could be introduced? So that is something that you would have to do. Right? So this is something that you would have to do. Okay, sorry about it. Actually, I had a call from my dad, so I had to answer him. Anyways, okay, you've taken the screenshot. Whom do I have now? I have Ibira Imadu. I don't know if I'm Ibiara. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly. Ibiara Imadu. Do you have anything to say? You have anything to ask? I-
No, sir. No, sir. I think I'm good.
Yeah, can you just keep the mic a bit close to your face?
I said, no, sir. I think I'm good. Sorry.
Yeah. I can hear you now.
I said, I think I'm good. Everything is clear.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Okay, this is glad to hear. Thank you, Ibiara. If there is also any question that you would like to have, just type it out. Not an issue. Thank you very much for being there for the session.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Madeline, lady, how are you doing now? Some improvements, Madeline? Yeah, hello, Madeline. Oh, I think she has probably got a bad internet connection. She's not been able to. Okay. Navita Seetal, how are you doing? Would you like to ask anything? Would you like to say anything?
Hi, sir. You already answered my questions with regard to the EVA and ROC, so I'm good for now. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Okay, Albert, do you have anything to ask? Albert Mebhoi. Yeah, but do you have anything to ask? Do you want to ask any other question? Candice, okay, no issues, no issues, no issues. That's okay. Shane, do you have anything to ask? Shane Dolan? Okay, Shane, thank you. Okay, no issues, no issues. That's okay, I do understand. Now, you're asking that, can you explain the difference between absolute measure and relative measure, please? Yes, okay, now let me just tell you. When you calculate the NPV, see NPV is in dollar terms. That's absolute measure. When you calculate IRR, that's percentage terms. Percentage is always when you're comparing two numbers, you get the percentage. So that's relative terms. Similarly, when you've got the return on investment, it's relative. When you've got residual income, it's absolute. So generally speaking, what happens is that the absolute measures are the ones that are expressed in terms of dollars, and the relative measures are the ones that are expressed in terms of percentages. That's where the difference is between these two. Is that clear to you? Do you want to ask anything else? Okay, lovely. Okay, have I forgotten anyone? I think I could see one name, Abu Bakr Amjad. Abu Bakr Amjad, do you have anything to ask? Abu Bakr Amjad, do you have anything to ask? Yeah, absolute is considered better than the relative measures, because relative measure is it changes from the size of investment. McKinsey 7S, I feel very difficult. Okay, Abu Bakr, I have delivered one question on this McKinsey 7S. I will share that with you. Yes, Kiera, I have it. I'll share that with you. Madeline, yes, I did try to call you up, but unfortunately, I think your internet was actually not available at that time. So probably I didn't actually get to see you anyways. So you could unmute now in case if you would like to ask anything, Madeline. I hope that you're now feeling more confident.
Yes, I think to some extent I'm feeling more confident now. So I wrote down some questions relating to maybe accountability in a performance measurement system. Maybe you can help to throw more light on that, and some IT part of the course. Maybe like others, data analytics, some there's a new term, data silos. So I've not really got time to look at them.
Okay. For the IT thing, I plan to actually deliver one of the videos to you people, which is going to be covering these latest changes with respect to the additions to the IT areas. So just stay tuned. Maybe by tomorrow evening or maybe by Monday evening, I'll be able to share that. So yes, I'm going to come on to that. With respect to the accountability and with respect to the performance management system. So let me just guide you something. See, we do study the concept of responsibility centers. What is a responsibility center? The responsibility center is basically, when we talk about the responsibility center is your different divisions, you actually try to give responsibilities to them. Like investment center, cost center, revenue center, profit center, etc., etc. There are different types of things. Now, what actually happens is that so when you have got a responsibility center, like if you have got an investment center, what does it mean? The manager is responsible for profits, he is responsible for investments. Means he's responsible for sale, he's responsible for cost, hence profit, hence investment also. So you could measure their performance using the ROI. You could measure their performance using RI. But if you have got a cost center where the manager is only responsible for cost, like production department. So what happens is that with respect to the cost center, you cannot apply the ROI. For the cost center, you would have to apply basically cost variances, things like that. You would do it this way. You get my point? You would do it this way. Is that okay? Yeah, Abu Bakar Amjad, there is a video. I'll share the whole playlist. Maybe you can have other videos also through which you could benefit. I have the whole playlist which I'm going to share. ROIs are mainly used for divisions. Yes, ROI is similar to ROCE. It's just that usually for the divisions we use ROI. For the whole company we use ROCE. Yes, it's the accountable to the center. So like there's a responsibility accounting. Like basically what happens is that the different responsibility centers are there. And those responsibilities, I mean, you can hold them accountable for those things. Like if there is a cost center, you cannot hold them accountable for sales. You can hold them accountable for cost, but you cannot hold them accountable for sales. There is an investment center, you can hold them accountable for everything. Why? Because they've got sales, they've got cost, they've got investment, every control they have. Okay, Abu Bakar Amjad, if you have watched my webinars and if you could watch my videos, you would see that I don't actually copy everything from the scenario. I just try to interpret it. The most important thing I want you to do is that performance management, just think of mission, connect everything to the mission. You will get to the right path. Connect everything to the mission, you will be able to reach the right point. Right? Okay. Lovely. So thank you very much, guys. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. And the recordings for this session would be made available to you people. I wish you all the very best. Inshallah, let's just communicate actively till the exam date, so that if there are any queries, any questions that you have, you could just keep on getting the answers from them. Ideally, try to communicate in the group so that others can also benefit from your queries. Because when you communicate in person, it's only you who benefits, not the others, right? So communicate in the group, you will get more rapid answers, you'll get more frequent answers, and you will be able to help others also. And those who help others, Allah helps them. So see you all. Thank you very much for your time. Inshallah, Madeline, inshallah. Thank you all. Thank you for being there. Thank you for your time. And for those of you who are doing other papers or your friends, I'm running an SBR session today, like half an hour after this session. And I'm going to be running an AFM session tomorrow at 10 a.m. GMT. You could suggest your friends and colleagues. Thank you. Thank you, Madeline. Thanks. It's a pleasure. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kiara. Thank you, Ibiara. Thank you.